So what's on the agenda today? What do we got? What are we drinking?
The agenda?
Yeah, the beer agenda.
I actually have a Blue Moon, so that's what I'm
No
rocking.
orange?
I
No
thought you were talking about the
orange sauce.
agenda. I was like, well, the agenda is I just mowed the yard and made dinner and went to work and just had like a crazy. It's been a wild week. I feel like things are kind of getting back to normal in the world a little bit. I mean, I say normal, but I think we all know it's not truly normal, but
No,
it feels less chaotic, I'll say.
Yeah, I think I don't think we're ever going back to how things were anytime soon, like pre-March of this year. I think it'll be like a year or two at least before we're like, I'm not saying I think we're going to be locked down that long, but I think like to where it's completely back to the way things were, I think it'll be a little bit.
It's going to be a minute. I think that it's kind of funny. I was actually having this conversation. This has nothing to do with like our podcast at all, but just talking about the adaptation of like face masks and like hygiene and stuff. And not to get political at all, because that's not what this is about, but I think it's just been very, very eye-opening for like maybe how poor some people's hygiene habits were. I guess
That's fair.
I'll just leave it at that.
That's a fair observation. I'm not going to dispute it.
But that may be one silver lining to bring out all this. Like, everybody's going to be way cleaner.
Yeah. So is WGI happening this year? What do you think?
Like it normally does? Absolutely not. I
No.
don't think there's a chance.
No.
That's just my gut feeling. For a couple reasons. And well, I'll get into that in a second. We'll talk about that with our guest because he may want to weigh in on that stuff too.
That's
even
fair. That's
though
fair. So
he lives in a different part of the country, so he may have a different peg on like how things are there versus they are here. So we can get into that.
So, let's get into it then. Welcome, everyone, to the Aged Out Podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Mike Fantini, and with me, as always, is...
Evan Worrell.
And make sure, as always, again, click subscribe for the YouTube channel, like the video, drop a comment if you want, share it with your friends, subscribe on Apple Podcasts and Spotify, follow on Facebook and Instagram. All of it's just Aged Out Podcast. To never miss an update on anything, hit us up on patreon.com/Aged Out Podcast for any financial support you want to give us. And without further ado, let's welcome today's guest. You want to take it away, Evan?
Well, I mean, maybe you should introduce him. I mean, you spent like an entire summer with him, right?
Fair. I'll do it.
I added him on Facebook literally maybe 5 hours ago.
Right.
So
I was just trying to be consistent.
You may have a better introduction.
Just consistent. Just being consistent here. All right. Today's guest is someone that I had the pleasure, as Evan said, of spending an entire drum corps season with, and he was probably one of the chillest, coolest guys in that drum line. So today's guest is Daniel Recoder. What's up, man?
Hey, how's it going?
Oh, it's going.
It's going. Thank you guys for having me on your podcast.
Thanks for joining us.
It looks bright in your room, like it's nice and sunny out there.
It is sunny. It's also 4 p.m.
Yeah. Daniel's joining us from California. The exact location we'll get into here in a second, I'm sure. But we've had a nice string of West Coast here pretty recently for the most part, but I dig it through the beautiful powers of technology, able to hit up folks all the way across the 3 time zones. So that's sweet.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
That is pretty great.
So thankfully, though, through the summer season, it's actually still sunny here, so we get to enjoy the daylight for a couple more hours on the Eastern time zone. But yeah, man, where are you joining us from exactly?
I'm coming from Union City, California, which is in the Bay Area.
That's SoCal?
It's the Bay Area. It's kind of like near San Francisco.
Okay. Yeah, I'm
Yeah,
not
dude,
super...
Don't you watch Golden State Warriors games, bro?
Oh, my God. Yes.
Of course, now they're in
I don't know
Oakland.
my
Rip.
California geography. There's like 7 different names for all the different areas.
Do they still get to
know.
say they're in the Bay? Is Oakland in the Bay? I'm not
Oh.
familiar with that
Yeah.
geography.
Oh, yeah.
All right. There it is. Boom. Warriors blew a 3-1 lead. Anyway.
All right.
So Daniel, man, I guess you have a unique story, which we'll get into, but I guess just kind of take us through what we typically do with any of our guests, like kind of your introduction into music, how you got into music, maybe if it started with like concert band, 5th grade, 6th grade, whatever that was, and then kind of just your evolution through the activity.
All right. Well, my first musical experience happened in fourth grade, playing the recorder, and I got teased so much in that class because my last name's Recoder. Playing the recorder, I was like, I'm not doing this.
Oh, kids are so smart. Kids are so
Right?
smart.
Right.
And ruthless.
Yeah.
And then in fifth grade, I played the trumpet in elementary school. That was cool, but like that trumpet and the case was like half my body weight, so I didn't really like that part. Sixth grade, did not want to do band. My mom, my dad, they said, you have to do it for 1 year. I cried. The tears did nothing. So they signed me up, and I chose percussion. And, as I got into it, I just kind of had a knack for it. I was able to pick it up relatively easy, and it made me feel like I was good at something. And
So
when you're
why
that
did
young...
Sorry, but I was gonna say, why did your parents were they so persistent for you to join band? Had they been in band, or?
Yeah, they both were in band in like middle school.
Okay.
They just said, you got to do 1 year. That's it. If you don't like it, you can stop. And here I am still doing it.
The rest is history.
So yeah, obviously after that 1 year, decided maybe this isn't so bad. Did you have like a primary focus? I guess California is maybe a little bit different in my mind as far as like middle school goes, because they have some different offerings. So middle school, was that primarily just like a concert band setting? Did the middle school you attend have like sort of lead-ins to marching band or marching percussion or marching activity at all?
Yeah, so it was concert band when I started, and then my 8th grade year, we had a local BD alumni come in to just introduce the marching exercises like stick control, blowing my mind, tap pyramid, what? And then Vince Oliver started a middle school percussion ensemble. So I actually played quads for the first time in 8th grade. Pee Wee Herman. It was a Pee Wee Herman show. I still remember the music.
Dude, Pee Wee Herman, classic.
And then I really enjoyed it. Carrying them, it hurt my back, but I was like, this is fun. Like, I can do a crossover.
Yeah, I couldn't imagine as a middle schooler. I was tiny, absolutely tiny. And I think from reading through your bio, you probably can relate, but I don't see myself as an 8th grader even being able to function with quads. I was probably so clumsy as it is. I played sports, but like the whole feet with the bead, play, stand up straight, like probably would not have been in the cards for me at that time.
Yeah, it was tough and it was overwhelming at times, but my parents were always just like, stick it through, just finish the year. If you don't want to do it after, you don't have to.
That is what I will call phenomenal parenting. Stick through it. Don't quit. I think kids these days too, I try to preach that as much as I can. Like just give it some time. Everything sucks at first because you're not great at it. Yep. And there's always a direct correlation between how good you are at something and how much you enjoy it. The better you get at something, obviously, the more you're going to enjoy it. But you're never good at it at first. So you're probably not going to enjoy it as much at first. Like there's probably some level of enjoyment. Like, yeah, this is new. It's cool. Like I'm doing something I've never done. But, I mean, you're just probably not that great at it.
Yeah, you got to start somewhere. You got to start somewhere and learn the process.
What drew you to play quads? Because, I mean, obviously they're not the lightest instrument. What was it that you were like, I want to play those?
Yeah, well, the first day of this percussion ensemble, no one wanted to play quads, and I didn't want to raise my hand, be the only guy playing quads. So I actually went to the front ensemble, and then that whole week, I was just like, dang, you know what? I should have just played them. So then the next week, they asked again, does anyone want to try quads? Raised my hand up super high, along with like 3 other people. And yeah, they looked big. They looked big and exciting. They looked exciting.
Hopefully they didn't have the deep shell version for
Yeah.
for you guys.
No, they were relatively light for quads. Still heavy for an 8th grader, but
For sure.
Oh, no doubt. So you end up, I guess, getting hooked in quads. Maybe not solely, but for the time being, you transition. You're in 8th grade, and then I'm assuming like normal, or at least what I'm accustomed to, 9th grade starts your high school career, correct?
yeah.
And you go to James Logan High School.
Yep.
And were you immediately kind of transitioned into that same role, like playing quads at high school, or did you have to like kind of take a back seat to maybe people who had some more seniority? Walk us through that a little bit.
Oh yeah. Well, they needed 3 quad players, and there were 2 vets and me. So your boy got a spot.
Yeah.
But it was a lot of playing catch up all the time that first year. Just because like you don't understand double strokes. Everyone's telling me to use my back fingers. I'm like, what? I can't. How?
I don't even think I'm using my front fingers. What do you mean by back fingers?
Yeah, people are telling me my feet are out of time, and I'm like, what do I do?
Out of time from what?
Uh-huh. But I do remember the day it clicked. I was playing, the piece was called Ghost Dance, and it started with just quarter notes on the rim for like 16 bars, just quarter notes. And then my quad instructor, Rudy Garcia, was like,
Rudy.
he's like, just put your feet in time with every rim click. And I did that, and I looked at him, and I was like, oh my God, this makes sense. Makes sense.
I feel like the feet.
Profound advice.
Yeah, I feel like the feet being in time is more often than not just like a light bulb moment. It was for me, I know for sure. I played bass drum my freshman year of high school, and man, my feet were a train wreck until about a couple weeks into the season after band camp, and like a light bulb just went off, and I was like, oh, I put my feet, and then I play the rhythms to that. Gotcha. And then it was never a problem after that.
Definitely a light bulb moment.
I will never say mine was never a problem. Like I had a light bulb moment too, but then I feel like I was also humbled several times throughout my career when I was introduced to new concepts like grids and things like that. Like, oh, you got to keep your feet with the downbeat, but move the accents. I was like, wait, what?
Huh?
But I'm sure we'll probably talk about that some too later. So Rudy Garcia, I don't know Rudy personally, but I know some people that have been taught by him and just love him.
Oh yeah, he's great.
Well, he was like late 90s, early 2000s BD quad player, right? Something like that.
Yeah, I think it was 97 to 2001. And he's so good at making rehearsal fun and engaging. Like, that is his skill. Expert mode. He can make it fun, exciting. You know, it's just always enjoyable.
Still getting it done, though.
Yes, still getting it done.
My friend Dean followed him from Crown to BD. That was pretty much why because he taught Crown in 08. And then Dean was like, I'm going to follow Rudy to BD. And I was like, well, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Anyway, so quads, get in there. Obviously, learning curve, couple vets, rookie. But probably, maybe, an awesome way to just very easily realize where you were at because they probably had more skill set instead of like all 3 people trying to figure it out at the same time. Probably had something to stack yourself up against and be like kind of use as a checking point or see where the bar was at.
Yeah.
Obviously, James Logan's a pretty historic program.
Yep, always got to keep working. I remember one time I brought my show music to a baseball game that my dad took me to. I was just like, I have to learn this. I can't watch this baseball game.
I can't slack.
Yeah, exactly.
Finger drumming in the stands.
Oh,
yeah.
Man. That's dedication right there. Take
do
notes,
what you gotta
kids.
do, man.
I love that. Were they participating in WGI at the time when you were there?
So they had went to Dayton the year before I got there, and then the 4 years I was there did not go to Dayton, and then like the next 4 years after me went every year.
Oh,
so
man.
it wasn't meant for me to go in high school, and it's okay because I went later on teaching.
Did they do the SCPA circuit?
No, they did. What circuits was there? Now there's like a Northern California Percussion Alliance circuit and CPA, That wasn't around when I was in high school. It was CCGC, California Color Guard Circuit.
Okay, I just guessed, but that makes sense.
Yeah.
I know that. At least from what I've been told, that SCPA obviously was not always the juggernaut that it is now, and the people, which kudos to them, like really injected a lot of time and effort into just like making that a premier circuit that it is today. But so good for whoever helped ride that train out. But so you did get the indoor experience, just didn't get to travel.
Yeah, I didn't.
Sorry you didn't get the snow and the cold of Dayton. That must have been real rough.
Honestly, in high school, that was like all I wanted, because I would always watch videos. That's like when YouTube came out. YouTube was a thing when I was in high school, and so I got to watch these groups from like 2006, 2005, like Center Grove.
Oh yeah,
watching them like, whoa, that like I want to go see this. I want to go compete with these people, but I didn't get to.
Of course, you had like RCC in your back, kind of. Well, I won't say backyard, but over there in that area. 06 doing that Missy Elliott show. I don't remember the name of it. I just remember that they played Missy Elliott with the white gloves. 05 they did the Manifest Destiny show, which maybe arguably shouldn't have won, but that's all right. Here they're there. So yeah, the California percussion scene has always been the like Blue Devils RCC connection, pretty trendy. And then so through high school, you're going to play quads. Kind of, I guess, take us a little bit through like people who are like impacted you, who kind of like introduced you, I guess, to that next level of like independent WGI or DCI. I guess at the time would have maybe been Div 2 or Div 1, whatever it was called. Some of the people that instructed you and really just kind of like helped you get to the next level, man.
Yeah. Well, Ryan Odello was the percussion caption head for Blue Devils B Corps for many years, and he was also the bass tech at James Logan High School. And so he had been like trying to plant the seed in my head throughout high school, but every year I was like, no, like I want to eat hot Cheetos and play video games all summer. That's what I want to do.
In true 15-year-old form.
Yeah, exactly. And then after my senior year, I graduated, went to college, and then that's when I decided, all right, I'm going to give this thing a try. And I was definitely influenced by Ryan, Vince Oliver, Roger Carter, and Rudy. Like, they all supported it. They all supported the mission, and they all had a way of keeping me on my toes. Like, it didn't ever really feel comfortable. It wasn't like, oh, piece of cake, I got this. It's like, there's always something that you need to get better at, is what it felt like.
Hey, that's good. Yeah. Challenge. Don't stay in the comfort. Don't get out of your box.
Exactly. Get out of your box. And like in high school, I just want to chill, but I'm constantly getting pushed outside the box, which is healthy looking back on it.
For sure, for sure. So don't the Adelos, like, didn't they have like, I feel like 10 people who marched BD or something like that?
Oh, yeah.
Everyone's like, oh, Odell. I'm like, how many of these people are there? Like, I'm pretty sure BD for like a century.
I'm pretty sure. Didn't the parents march BD, and then they had like 4 sons that were all like, one was a snare drummer, one was a bass drummer, I know. Was it 3 sons, do you know?
There's 4 of them. There's 4 of them. And they're all really good at drums.
I mean, I guess. Yeah, I was going to say, at that point, it's just like, you got to do it. Like, yo, he did it, so like, we're just going to show you the way.
Yeah.
And maybe by the time like the youngest gets there, it's like, all right, I've seen the path. I've seen what it takes. I can fit into the mold now. So
yeah.
So you got all these people. I guess, were they encouraging you to go or audition for the Blue Devils organization as just like go to BD, or did you go for a certain? I know they have like their family of corps, ABC, or did you have a goal, or what was your kind of introduction to auditioning for drum corps?
Well, I went to B Corps. There were a couple of my friends from high school that also did it with me. it was like, oh, you do it? Okay, I'll do it with you. And that's how we ended up there. And the goal when I started was to just survive the summer.
What year was that?
That was 2009. That's 2009, and it was different, like being in a drum corps versus being in high school, and just the expectations are different, and the physical demand was so much more challenging in drum corps. I got my butt kicked, man.
Yeah, I remember
Yeah.
your story of your first summer was something that still like always stuck out to me.
Oh yeah. Okay, so sometimes you're marching, you get a blister on your toe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so that happened, and that's gonna make this story worse later. But we were repping the closer, and it was one of those days where they're just like, all right, set it back up at the top, set your drums down, run a lap. Don't be last. If you're last, you got to do another one. So I'm here running on like a pop blister toe, and then I'm not last. I'm like second to last, and get in, do a rep, and they're like, "All right, set your drums down, take a lap. Don't be last." So you do another one. They did that like 3 or 4 times,
Oh my gosh.
and like that was probably the first instance in my life where I was telling my body to move my legs, and my legs were operating like 20 beats slower than my mind was telling them to do it. Like actually not being able to physically keep up, like despite 100% efforts. And that was shocking. That was shocking to my system. And then right after that, like everyone is just silent. All the members are silent. And we go to lunch. And I remember just sitting at the lunch table, looking out into the hills at Mars, like, what on earth am I doing here? Why am I here?
So BDB rehearses at Mars too?
Yeah, there's actually 2 Mars fields. There's Mars 2, Mars 1, and then the A Corps typically leaves on tour like mid to end of June. And then once they leave, B Corps uses both fields.
Okay.
Nice.
That makes sense. I just
So
never thought
that
about it, I
sounds like
guess.
one of those lunch breaks. That sounds like one of those lunch breaks where you're just contemplating life. Like, am I going to be able to survive this? What did I get myself into?
Yes.
Should I go home? Should I throw in the towel?
Yes, but I can't do that.
Yeah, because your parents from an early age said you can't quit.
Yeah, they're like, just finish
I
the year.
think I had one of those moments too. My first summer where I was just like, this is a lot harder than I thought. But then it's kind of like weightlifting or training or something. You kind of just like get a breakthrough at some point and you just hit this euphoric state and you're just like, all right, I can do this. So that was your first year. And we'll talk a lot. We'll probably backtrack through some of these stories and like your own personal journey and how it impacted you. Like we'll get through the, I guess your just like kind of career, and then we'll take like a detour backwards if that works. Okay. So you end up staying at BDB for 2009, 10, and 11, correct?
Correct.
Where you went back to back championships.
Well, that happened. That happened.
And also back to back open class drum trophies, correct?
That did happen.
Daniel just decorated in gold over here. Drip, drip.
The Sanford Juniors.
I felt like the people on the line just, they wanted to be the best that we could possibly be. And like,
well, that's
when
what you want.
Exactly. When you have a group of people that genuinely want to excel and just be excellent at something, it's powerful.
Yeah, I guess that's why you go participate in this activity, something like that. You're jonesing for something of that capacity or that caliber. You're just looking for these people, like other like-minded people that want to do this activity. Like, yeah, we're in, man. Like, let's all go in on the same train, full steam, and just see where it gets us.
Mm-hmm.
So after 2011, I guess you have a decision. Like, what do you do next? Like, you go back? Do you go here? Do you go there? What's your thought process as far as like your next summer for 2012?
Well, I've been following the Bluecoats since like 2009 was the first time I saw them live. They came to the West Coast that year. And so I saw them at Stanford, and they just had a high level of excellence and humor with what they were doing.
That's a way to
They
put
certainly
it.
had a lot of humor that year.
Yeah.
Right? And I really connected with that. And 2012 comes around, and I went and auditioned there.
I'm sure Roger being there didn't hurt.
That was also the first year he went out there, and that
Did you
got
know-
me hyped.
Did you know that was
Yes.
happening before you made the decision?
Can't remember, but I just remember being in music theory class and finding out that news, being hyped. Plus, Jeremy Sommers and Amador Padilla were teaching the quad line over there. Also, got me super excited.
Dude, those two that summer were probably two of my favorite people. Like, I liked that entire staff. Like, there wasn't a staff member that I was like, didn't get along with, but those two were just really chill, really good at what they did, like just awesome dudes.
Absolutely. They also made the experience enjoyable.
Yeah,
I don't doubt it.
Where did Jeremy, was he at La Quinta High School, or he taught there?
I think so.
I've heard like just incredible things about that dude as an educator and member and teacher, and just the impact that he's had on the organizations that he's been a member of and taught, like through RCC and stuff. But I heard like a story that Sean Vega like cried when he aged out of RCC or something like that.
I believe it.
I don't know anything about that, so somebody can validate that or not.
Yeah.
But so yeah, you decided was Bluecoats having California camps at that time like they do now?
Yeah, there was a Southern California camp.
That makes it easy, or much more convenient, obviously.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
well, I
so
mean,
you
it
go
makes
to
sense. Jeremy and Amador were from SoCal. Roger, Eric Shriver were in SoCal.
Oh, heck yeah.
And Mike Jackson. Mike Jackson's from out there.
And Mike Jackson lived in SoCal.
Mm-hmm.
Was that Mike's first year too, Jackson?
No.
Not his first year.
I think 09 was Jackson's first year.
He was there in 11. Maybe he was there in 12 too.
Wasn't it
Or
09?
10, I mean.
I think it was 9.
He
Was
got
it
there
9?
when Shriver got there in 09.
I'll believe it.
We'll roll with it. Somebody fact check us in the comments.
They had the whole squad up.
Yeah.
So yeah, West Coast squad. So yeah, it makes sense. I mean, it makes sense for a lot of groups, in my opinion, if you're just trying to reach talent in more pockets of the country. But that's neither here nor there. So yeah, you go to the first camp. Was that December or Thanksgiving?
Yeah, it was December.
Right on. So then, obviously, you get the call back. Do you have to go to Ohio at that point?
I did have to go to Ohio, and I remember being super tight on finances, feeling like I can't afford this plane ticket to go out there. And then I had a friend randomly shoot me a message saying, if you try checking 2 one-way flights rather than a round-trip flight. And I did, and I was like, oh my God. This is so much
This works.
so much cheaper. Yeah, I can do
Life
this.
packs.
Yeah, and I flew out, and I was nervous because it's like I'd never flown out to go audition for something.
That's a big leap.
But I felt like I was prepared, and I knew like if I'm gonna pay for this plane ticket and wipe out my bank account, I damn right better get this spot.
Yeah.
Was
So
that
did you-
January?
Yeah, that was in January.
Did you get contracted at that camp?
I did at the same time as Taha.
That's right. Because I think they fully set the line in January that year. I think it was fully set. Like there weren't any question marks.
That's rare.
I know.
Well, I won't say rare, but not super common.
I know the snare line was definitely set at the end of the January camp, and I believe the bass line was too. But I don't know
Because it was
because Worrell was super young, right?
He was.
So like I don't know if they waited till February. I don't remember.
So it was you, Anye, Ruel, and then another dude from the West Coast too, right?
No,
Joe Fowl from Minnesota.
Oh, okay. Oh, all right. Yeah. All
He
right,
was a
I'm on
vet,
board
right?
now.
He marched in 11, didn't he?
Yeah, he was a vet.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Yeah, Joe's a funny guy. He's a good guy, but he was that quad line was such like a hodgepodge of different guys. Like all
It
four
really
of you were
was.
so
There was
different
like-
people.
It was like California, Minnesota, Atlanta, and Connecticut.
It's
Like, just-
all over.
Dude, you
Got-
literally hit the four corners here.
Yeah,
exactly.
North,
It was
south, east, west.
It was cool though. It's like I felt like everyone in that quad line had so much skill to offer, and every single one of us had our diva moments throughout the summer, but we always moved past it, and we got back together.
yeah. It's funny you say that because I was about to say that like I never noticed you guys ever not getting along amazingly. But maybe you guys, maybe it just happened in subs, and you guys worked it out by the end of subs. I don't know.
Uh-huh.
Well, now having done this, I've met 3 out of the 4 of you. I've not met or talked to Joe ever, but Anye, I know. We've done a podcast with him. Ruel, I've met in just one of the, even though I only met him and talked to him very short moments, just super funny, charismatic, zest for life, dude. Just, I don't know, just has such a funny vibe about him.
Oh yeah.
Dude's a performer. That's
He
the
is
best way
a
to put it.
performer.
He's a performer.
I would imagine, I don't know this for sure, but just a lot of the vocals I just see, like, that was probably inspired by him.
Oh yeah.
Man, that show had so many vocals. There was so many visuals and vocals throughout that whole thing that like it's just ridiculous.
It was, and it just kind of acquired throughout the course of the season.
Yeah, it's just we'd show up to a block
did
and
you
like,
do?
oh, the quads that had a 2-hour sub sectional, and then all of a sudden there's new vocals randomly. Like, and this is like 2 weeks before finals. They're just like throwing this stuff in there for fun.
I think that's the stuff that makes like the summers fun, though. You can go back and look at it and be like, I remember when we did that, or like you see a part of the show where you're like, oh yeah, that part, that was always just such a pain in the butt or whatever.
Your all's drill in 12 was pretty hard, or was it hard?
The only part that was hard was letter G to the end of Ritual.
Okay.
Right after,
All right.
right after the percussion piece, we're just like hauling
Oh
backwards.
yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about.
That was like the only really challenging part. I mean, the rest of it was just moderately challenging.
Okay.
I was going to say, Mike, you've talked about, and I've watched that show many times, and I'm like, yeah, this is not hard drill.
Okay.
It's good,
Okay, I had
but
a
it's
reason.
not hard.
I had a reason to ask is because I know the snare lines drill was a cakewalk, except for the section of the show that he just mentioned. But I'm pretty sure I just remember throughout the summer, like the quads are like, how do we have the heaviest drums and we have the hardest drill in the battery, and the snares are over there just like moseying around the field half the time.
I feel like that's a thing everywhere with every quad line. I think that's just the thing.
Probably because it's got to have something to do with visual forms. Snares are in the middle of the battery usually, and like
I was going to
rotations.
say,
and-
snares are typically in the middle of the battery formation, so...
Yeah,
Well,
the princesses.
Hey, you
yeah,
chose the
for
wrong
sure.
instrument, dude.
Divas.
Wrong
Dude, and being in
instrument.
the middle of the snare line of the middle of the form is also much easier. I'll say that. Although at Crown we still did run a heck of a lot. It was just like linear moves for the whole battery. But sometimes I was like, yeah, y'all can run. I'm just gonna chill here. So they're like reset. I'm like, I'm already on my dot. Yeah, I'm gonna reset.
Oh,
We're doing a
must be
pinwheel
nice.
around me. So that summer was tons of fun. I spent it with you. You spent it with me. The quads were amazing. I would argue the quads were probably the best section of that battery.
Well, I'd have to agree with you on that one. I feel like every section was really good that year.
No, yeah, the bar is really high. Like saying that one of those 3 sections was the worst is like, all right. But I think you 4 were exceptional. Like above the basses and the snares, you guys were incredible.
Oh, thank
Agreed.
you.
Dude, one of my favorite lot videos is to go back and watch that 2012 doing the ritual movement. Obviously it's the quad break in the front where you guys are doing the single crossovers, like, and then like even Tom, like the guy starts laughing. Everybody's just like,
yeah, dude.
He's just like laughing in the background.
It's a nasty
I was like,
quad
that's a
feature.
good feeling.
It's a nasty quad feature.
That part wasn't in there all summer, and so like there are a lot of videos like at Rockford where it's not there. And you're just watching a run of Ritual, and it sounds like it's missing something.
I need to go back and watch that. I don't remember that not being there the whole time.
There's
a Rockford lot video, isn't there?
Yeah.
I need to go find that because I'm curious now.
Yeah, I remember Jeremy Sommers was writing it. I remember seeing it on Sibelius on his laptop. But we all kind of like worked together to shape it to what it is. We all worked together to make it happen.
That makes sense. It felt very RCC 09-ish, like how they ended that like that epic quad feature with all those like single crossovers with the epic drum 3. Was it drum 3? I think it was drum 3 break. Yeah. He played on that broken drum 3. But
yeah.
So 2012 is probably one of the more, like if you had the breakdown like Bluecoats lineage just going through the years, up there in top drum lines, I would say, especially from a clarity standpoint and a balance standpoint, looking back on it. So you have just like this killer summer with the Bluecoats. And I guess we'll take the time here and we may hop around, but to kind of backtrack backwards, diving to like 2009 and like your experience of what you were talking about earlier, being it just like this physical toll that you were like, I did not anticipate or have in my brain that this was what it's going to be like, and how that impacted you as a person and just as a performer and a musician and all facets of life, I guess, because you have a unique experience with that. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, drum corps was always very tough for me. Always. There was never a day where like I was not hurting somewhere. It's like I would go home from rehearsal, shower, go to bed, sore and hurting, wake up, sore and hurting, go back to rehearsal. And so like pain and suffering kind of just became what drum corps was to me. But it's like you're going through this pain, you're suffering, but you're also like striving for excellence with what you're doing. And, you know, the first year, I didn't know how to connect with it. The second year, I hyped it. I was like, oh, hell yeah, this is going to be hard. Let's do it. We're going to run. I'm going to run again at lunch. and then I'm going to do it with my quads on. And eventually I learned, like, if you're afraid of the physical challenge, it's so much harder than if you just, like, face it head on and embrace it. Makes it so much more enjoyable.
I think that makes sense too, just from like a psychological standpoint. You're talking about just kind of like gritting your teeth and like, all right, we're gonna bear through the storm, and then we're gonna come out on the other side, and the storm will be over, and we'll be in like the oasis or the paradise land. And obviously, too, that challenge did not defer you. You marched 4 years of it, so it's not like I'm not going back to doing it.
Yeah, I do remember getting to Bluecoats feeling like I was strong enough. It was like the first time I experienced something where it's like I knew my body knew what to expect, and I felt like I could do it. And so that was very exciting for me. And like every rep in my mind was like, this is a rep to get stronger. I'm literally getting stronger by doing this repetition. And if I had to miss a rep for something, like one time my harness broke, and I remember I had to fix it, and the battery was repping stuff on the field, and I was like frantically in the truck trying to get it together as fast as possible because my mind was telling me you are missing out on reps to get stronger right now. So it became what I love. I don't want to say I loved it the most from drum corps, but it was a very meaningful part of the experience for me.
I think that's awesome, just because I think that obviously the thing that we probably hype and talk about the most is like the drumming, the beats, the clarity, this, that, like, oh, did you hear what they were doing? Did you see what they were doing? But the physicality aspect of it is tandem. I mean, it's hand in hand. I remember several instances of just days where I was sore, and like at first in my first summer, I had taken a pet egg to like kind of like help get the calluses and stuff off my feet. But I realized after the first time that I did it that I was like, that was a terrible mistake. I should just leave these calluses on my feet because I'm going to need them all summer in order to make it through this. Because then I just went through the pain process again instead of just letting my body tell me like, you're going to need these on your feet. So let's just leave them there.
Yes.
Did you do anything differently after that first summer to try to prepare yourself for each summer thereafter?
After the first summer, not really. Like I would occasionally run. I just didn't know how to exercise. I didn't have any guidance when it came to that. I didn't have any like role models to look to for my fitness journey. So I just would sit at home, editing videos, making music, eating hot Cheetos like I knew how to do so well. and so I went into the second year and toughed it out. I think after that I started doing like Insanity. I discovered Insanity. And
heck yeah.
You know, I wasn't very good at it, but I did it. I did it.
Well, I'm sure that prepared you, especially from a muscle development standpoint. Now there's the beautiful invention of Marching Health, which Elliot Cleveland has started. Actually, Elliot messaged Mike and I. Well, he messaged to me about Mike and I. We're trying to get together, do a podcast with him at some point. But just ways to prepare yourself in a more efficient manner, I guess, for the grueling season that is a DCI tour. I know looking back on it, and Mike and I have talked about this several times, is that I would have ran way less. I still would have run some, but just I would have trained and built up my muscle strength in my lower body and my core significantly more. Body squats, lunges, stretching, core work, calf raises, just all that to prepare myself for even, I wouldn't even say just drum corps, but high school band.
Yeah.
I just didn't know.
Yeah.
I wished I'd been doing that the entire time. I've thought so many times that, man, I would have been so much better of a marcher, and just like, it would have allowed me to play better if I had more control over my core, if my legs were more like developed from a muscle standpoint. And like, I actually did Insanity. So it's a 2-month program, and it's like an interval training workout. And I thought that prepared me cardiovascularly really well. Like, I really didn't run much at all getting ready for 2012. And all I did was like 5 of the 8 weeks of Insanity before, I think I ended it with a month left before move-ins, and then just did some light running before that. And that helped a lot. Just all the jumping, and it gives you a lot of ankle stability, and that kind of stuff worked out really, really well. But it also kind of helped that our drill was pretty easy, but I didn't feel like I was dying at any point in that summer. Whereas my first summer, I ran a lot more, didn't really do a lot of muscle development or stretching or balance work or anything like that. And if I had, because that drill was way harder. That drill at Blue Stars that I had was probably 10 times harder than the drill at Bluecoats. And if I'd done that for that, I would have. I had a very similar experience at Blue Stars, and I'm not gonna probably won't recount the whole thing here, but I thought I was gonna have to go home a couple weeks into move-ins because of possible stress fractures in my feet. Into the story. That story, long story short, wasn't the case. But if I had done a lot more prep work in terms of stability, muscle development, I think it would have been a much more enjoyable experience until I'd fully went through that fire. That is the first half of the first summer, I'd say.
Yeah, that first half, that's the toughest.
That's the part that everybody forgets about by the time it gets to finals. And so you're all jaded, not jaded, but you're all like rose-tinted glasses about summer because finals is so awesome. Then you get 3 days into move-ins the next season, and you're like, why the hell am I doing this again?
That's like going to a concert and remembering the last song that the band played, but not the first song. You're like on this high where you are comfortable and tan and in shape, and that's all you remember. And you're like, oh, I don't remember all the sunscreen I had to apply before I could get my tan layer on and stop getting burnt by the sun.
Oh yeah, don't remember the tears I shed.
Yeah, you forget it all. Finals week
right.
is a magical week. It's a magical time for a member.
It is.
So, after I guess you're aged out, you are aged out like the rest of us. Mike and I, and like everybody becomes. Did you start teaching after that?
I did. Taught at Vanguard Cadets in 2013.
SCVC. What?
SCVC.
So you're going against like your home team. Your original home team.
Yeah. Yeah, in a way. But I was teaching with like some of my best friends. So that was exciting. And it was also nice to expand my network, get to know new people outside of the Blue Devils organization.
Yeah, for sure. Get that networking going.
Yeah. Learn how other people rehearse.
My wife's walking through here.
I was looking for the something on the bookshelf.
It's all good.
I'm not editing this out, by the way.
I'll just leave her in there. She's looking on the bookshelf. I don't know what for, but it's all right. But so yeah, you get new experience on the other side of things, which presents its own challenges, probably more mental than physical, if I can speak personally on my teaching experience. But so you teach there. How long were you with SCVC?
I was with them for a season, and then Roger reached out to me to teach at Bluecoats the following season for the Tilt year.
Going back to the Blue Bangers, great year.
Mm-hmm.
Get to teach somebody you march with. How was that?
That was interesting.
Worrell was still there.
Yeah, it was interesting. Like as I look back on it now, I would probably have done things a little differently. You gain experience through your teaching. Sure. But it wasn't ever really an issue. There was never a problem that I had teaching a quad line that had somebody I marched with in it. If anything, there was like this kind of mutual trust. Like, I did the thing with you, you did the thing with me. We know we're on the same page. We know what we're fighting for here.
Yeah, we're just trying to help each other max this out as much as we can.
Yeah.
It probably made it easier too.
They maxed it out. That was a great show and a great drum line.
I could see how potentially teaching someone you marched with could cause slight issues, but I could also see it as like a great helper, because that your teaching philosophy may have changed a little bit, but because you had just marched with Worrell 2 seasons before, your all's idea of how to play and like the approach to the drums was probably already pretty similar. Correct me if I'm wrong. So therefore you had somebody in the middle of the line that could basically be a second set of hands to help explain things, potentially.
Yeah, I feel like everyone in that quad line was super smart. Like, everyone in that quad line had really good brains. And that worked out well when we had to learn things. There was a lot of learning that year.
I'm sure for you as a staff member, just as much as the members. Just because, like, the first year teaching with a group, I would imagine, like, were a lot of the people that taught us in 12 still around on the staff, or had there been a lot of turnover?
Well, I was there, and then T-Gas was there. Joe Woody was there.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, he was
infamous
there.
vocal at this point.
So I also felt like I was teaching with my friends there, which is cool. Ryan Lamb was still there. I think Jared was still there.
Love Ryan. Love Jared. Mm-hmm. Jared, come back from Australia. Come back, bro. We miss you.
We do.
So you taught there. How many years were you at Bluecoats?
5 or 6.
Oh, dang.
Yeah, he taught there for a while.
Nice.
What was
Lot of
your
good
What
years.
was your last season? Are you were still there before the season got canceled, right?
No, my last season was 2019.
Oh, okay.
The
So,
Blue
all right.
Coats.
The Bluecoats.
Yeah.
The Blue Coats. And then I started working in physical therapy. So I didn't know what my availability was going to be. So I just had to like commit to a year in physical therapy, like actually do it all the way through. And then figure out how to balance music into it.
Sure.
So that is like a killer segue.
Perfect. Absolutely perfect.
Yeah, perfect segue. Happened very naturally. So obviously, you just talked about you are getting into this physical therapy and trying to navigate, I guess, just post band and post drum corps life, but also still integrate your passion into what you're doing with that as far as drumming goes. So kind of take us through what you have going on now. I know you've posted some videos, which we'll probably link in our video when we post it later for anybody to check out, but which have blown my mind. I watched this, and actually I've had some people send it to me like, dude, check this out. I'm like, I know who that guy is. And yeah, that's crazy. So what have you kind of gotten into now, and what do you hope to, and what are your goals and missions with that?
Well, I started jumping rope when I was going back to school in 2017. And like I was going to school, I was directing a percussion ensemble, I was writing the show and trying to like coordinate rehearsals. So my schedule was packed. Every day I was like, I need something that's going to get the workout done quickly and effectively. So I got some like really cheap wire jump rope, and I went outside. It got me sweating real quick. And so I liked it. I could just go out for 10 minutes, come back in. I'm sweating. I'm awake. Like I'm ready for the exam I'm about to take. And like it just had a way of charging up my body, charging up my mind that would rev me up for whatever it is I had to go to. So then I would bring it on tour. So before rehearsals, I would go jump for like 10, 15 minutes, and then I'd go to rehearsal. So I'd be sweating. I'm awake. I'm right there. They're waking up, the first reps of the day, and I'm already like drenched. and I started learning tricks with it. And every trick is like it's just a different movement pattern. It's a different way to take up time and space, much like rudiments when you're drumming. Paradiddles serve a different purpose than flam drags do. They sound different. They feel different. They take up time differently. And all these different drum bro tricks do the same thing. Some of them happen in patterns of 3. Some of them happen in patterns of 2. Some are patterns of 4 or 5. And so I'm starting to string together ways to like write. I feel like I'm writing drumline, but it's for a jump rope, using like the same principles, the same concepts, and I'm putting drum tracks to it. And it's exciting because it gets me out there sweating, and I never post the first rep. Like everything I post is like the 15th to 30th rep of something. But just like having something fun that gets me working. It's also combining like exercise and music together. It's so enjoyable. I could go out there and spend like 2-3 hours doing it.
To kind of, I guess, give people a visualization of what we're talking about too, which we'll link the video so people can watch it as well. Is it through the organization, the Forte?
Yeah.
Okay. And what's it called again? Forte
Athletics.
Forte Athletics. The first one I saw, I think, was you doing it was like a metric modulation going from like eighth notes to triplets, eighth notes to 16th notes, and like even eighth notes to like ninelets or something. Yeah. When we got to the ninelets, I was like, what? And then I saw another one too of you doing, was it like a 4-2-1 grid or something?
Triplet grid. He literally played the triplet grid with a jump rope.
In like what you were talking about, the patterns and like the tricks, I guess like you're doing like stuff on right side, left side, center, this stuff,
Yeah.
like mixing, crossing arms, and that sort of stuff, versus like the check it, 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 the check. So I was like, that's pretty cool. Which you're combining, obviously, the knowledge that you have from music and a rudimental background into this athletic workout, which is really cool. And I think a lot of people probably try to do that in some aspect with interval training, like what Mike was talking about earlier, as far as like listening to fast-paced song and then a slow-paced song and then another fast-paced song to like kind of trick their body and their heart rate into doing different things.
Mm-hmm.
What kind of clicked for you? Was it just like you were working out and jumping rope to music, and then you started to kind of like naturally like align with like the BPMs and then beat, or were you like messing around with something else? You're like, oh, I think I can put this to some music.
Yeah, well, once quarantine hit, I was at home for a while, and then one day I just decided to learn how to shuffle, like basic foot shuffling patterns, and I was like, oh, well, I could put this to a jump rope. And so then I did a cover of a song where I started with shuffling, and then I transitioned to jump rope, and then I combined the shuffling with the jump rope. And like, I just liked watching it. I watched it like 100 times in a row. And
No, dude, it's entertaining. It's super
it felt
entertaining.
like art.
You're like,
So
dang,
then
I'm good at that.
And so then I started jumping to just random songs, little like 30-second clips, and I would post that on my Facebook, and people liked it. People were intrigued by it, and it seemed to have a lot of support from the community. And then I could see like some tricks just don't line up with the music. You know, like what you see is not what you hear. But there's a different way to do. There's a different way to do it. There's a different trick I could do, and so I'll go out there, re-record it, put it with the music, and just like the eyes light up, like, whoa, that looks like what I'm hearing.
Yeah, it makes it more aesthetically pleasing for sure. And there's no vanity in that. There's it's like, hey, this is good doing this. I mean, I feel like anybody who's marched has gone back and watched videos of themselves and been like, yeah, we were pretty good. All right, we did that pretty well.
Anyone that tells you they haven't done that's lying. We all do it.
I mean, everybody's got a little bit of pride in them. It's all right.
For sure.
Oh,
Not
yeah.
a bad thing.
So the Forte Athletics, is this like something that has started geared towards this specifically, or do they offer like other stuff and you've just kind of latched this idea onto it, or what's the background there?
Yeah, so this one day I've been working my handstands for a few years, and then one day it kind of clicked in my head, and I held it for like 20 seconds, whereas I was normally doing like 5 to 8 seconds. Something clicked, and then I came out of the handstand, feeling like this moment of bliss, and then I saw my jump rope on the ground, and I just remember saying out loud, like, that's a good idea. I could do that. I could do that. And so now this whole thing has become a mission to get people moving, because like quarantine has significantly impacted the way our music community lives and thrives. And we're so used to having our tribes. We're so used to being in our community, sweating, working hard. And now many of us don't have that. And gyms are closed. So many people are not going to the gym, and many people are not moving. And if you think about water, like when water is flowing, like in a river, and it's moving and rushing, it looks so healthy. But when water stagnates, it starts to turn green. It starts to look like it looks like it's rotting. And the human body is mostly made out of water. And so I feel like when we stop moving, our spirit starts to turn green and rot. And I feel like a jump rope is the perfect tool for performing arts community, because it's visually aesthetic, it's a physical challenge, it's going to get your circulatory system going, it gets your cardiovascular system going, warms your muscles up, revs up your nervous system. Physically, it is working you. Mentally, you must problem solve. You must focus on the task at hand. And the split second you lose focus, you get whacked with the rope, and it sucks. It's a painful reminder to pay attention to what you're doing. So mentally, you're not thinking about what's happening later. You're not thinking about what happened in the past. You're just so in the present moment, jumping over this rope over and over again. And spiritually, I feel like it's a good challenge, because you go out there, you try and learn something, you can't do it. You're trying your hardest. You go out the next day, you try your hardest, you can't do it. And then one day you go out there and you can do this thing that you couldn't do. And that feels so rewarding to the spirit. And those three things sound like the experience we get in the marching arts community when we're on the field. You get the physical challenge. You have to focus on what you're doing. You get that spiritual reward of delayed gratification. So this is just, it's a mission. I just want to get people moving, and something is telling me that I need to do this, and it's going to become whatever it's meant to become. But I feel a strong sense of purpose, and I feel like if anyone knows how to do this, it's me. So take action. Let's move.
Heck yeah, dude.
Well, dude, that you can tell you're passionate, because I already want to buy a jump rope.
Yeah, I was going to say,
rope.
I just want to go jump rope.
I need some cardio in my life.
Not only on top of like watching you do it and like how cool it looks, or like it makes me think back to of like reflecting on like how badass it looks too in like movies that I've seen. Like anybody who's jump roping, you're just like, this dude's about to get it. Like if it's like Rocky or like Jake Gyllenhaal in the movie Southpaw or whatever, you're like, this dude's about to get jacked or something.
Yeah, you get in your flow.
Yeah,
like
man.
That. It's just so seamless.
And it makes sense too with what you were talking about, jumping rope before like rehearsals and stuff, just like getting your mind engaged. Because there were definitely times when like I was in rehearsal, to relate this back to the marching arts, where a staff member was like, you gotta get out of your bag, which is what they referred to as like you're mentally still in your sleeping bag. Like, yeah, we realize that you woke up and like we've been doing this for 80 days in a row now, but like you mentally got to get out of your bag. Like you're just not there yet. So doing something like that to just force yourself to engage not only your body, but to just get mentally woken up. Shout out and kudos here to my wife, but she gets up at 5:30 and works out before she goes to work every morning, which is not my speed and not when I go work out. But she just always says like, I feel like I'm just ready for the day after it. So
I've tried the morning workouts. They're never as good for me. They're never as good as when I like lift weights at like 7 p.m. or 3 p.m. or whenever I get to go that day.
Well, she's wild, man. She'll wake up at like 5 or 5:30 and make breakfast and then eat and then work out. Like eat something like eggs or something like that.
That's discipline.
Into like new. Yeah, dude, she kills it. But yeah, this makes me want to just go buy a jump rope, because like you're talking about, I reference it to the first time that I figured out how to actually play like a cheese. Like the concept of playing a flam, and it did all at the same time to me when I was like sophomore Evan. I was just like, this is stupid. It doesn't make sense. I can't do this. I'm terrible. I don't know how anyone can do this. They're probably lying. They're probably just lying. They're not actually doing it. They're just playing. There's no flams in there. But then one day you're just like playing it slow, like check it, check it. Then you're like gradually speed it up, and you gradually speed it up. And you're like, oh, and then there's just light bulb clicks. That's hearing you talk about that, where you're like, you can't do it, and you suck, and you can't do it, and then one day you just have this breakthrough where you broke through the ceiling, and you're like, I can do this. And that feeling of accomplishment when you've pushed through something that took you a while to accomplish is just such a euphoric experience. It's what's the saying? If it was easy, everyone would do it, I guess, is the kind of thing.
Yeah. It definitely works on patience and persistence. If you pick up the rope and you get on it, patience and persistence are required in order to excel. And that same thing goes for the martial arts world.
Well,
I love it.
I can't think of
Also,
a better. No, go ahead. Go ahead, Evan.
I was gonna say, speaking of handstands, do you know Chris Gary?
I don't.
Oh, we
You should
got
follow him.
we got to give him his Instagram.
Yeah,
once
you
you see
do.
his Instagram. He's like super big into handstands. He marched with me at Rhythm X in 2010. Taught Spirit for a little while. Taught GMU. He owns a gym in Washington D.C., but he's just real big. Like I think he posts handstands daily and
Yeah,
like figuring
he's
out how to like
big
do
into
like,
it.
handstand push-ups and stuff. Just so.
Yeah, send me that handle.
Yep, we will definitely
I'll
do
send
that.
it to you.
Man, I can't. After that spiel, I just need to go work out. I need to go. I need to go move my body. I think that is the perfect way to end this. Unless either of you have anything
Yeah.
else you want to talk about.
That
Bueller,
sounds good to me.
crickets. No.
About the find Daniel on Instagram.
Yeah, right. Follow him.
Are you on the IG?
I'm on the IG. My personal handle is drec815.
Found it. And then you have one for the Forte Athletics as well.
Yeah, that'll be forte.athletics.
We'll link those too when we post it.
Yep. We will definitely do that. And everybody listening, go follow it because his content is inspiring and just super cool. Drumming plus jump roping to music. It's hard to imagine what it is. You just got to go check it out. So go follow his page. Go check it out. It's worth it. It's really cool stuff.
Thanks, Mike.
Yeah. So let's close this out then. I'll reiterate my spiel from earlier. Subscribe on YouTube, like the video, drop a comment, subscribe on Spotify and Apple Podcasts, follow on Facebook and Instagram. It's all Aged Out Podcast. Hit us up on patreon.com/Aged Out Podcast if you want to give us any kind of financial support. And Daniel, it's been great talking to you. We need to do this more often. You were one of my favorite people from that drum line in 2012. Yeah, thanks for coming on and joining us.
I appreciate it. Thank you guys for taking the time to chat. Always love talking about drums and just this
Heck yeah,
activity
man.
with other passionate people.
Yep, it's a good time. So we'll see everybody next time.
Peace.
Bye.